Good evening, you lovely specimens. I brought the intro back on this one, and if that doesn't deserve a like, I don't know what does. Today's story is by The Engulfing Silence. Link to it will be in the description. Let's get into it. Naruto looked around the small village he and Jiraiya had just entered. Like most of the villages he had been to in Fire Country, the buildings were all made of a mixture of wood and bricks, and were modeled in a western style with flat rooftops and square architecture. Most of the buildings were shops that sold various goods, which were obvious when Naruto observed a numerous amount of people milling around looking at windows. It had been only a week since Naruto had left with Jiraiya on his training trip, and the two had already been to 2 cities in Fire Country. So, what are we gonna be doing here, sensei? Naruto asked as he looked up at the larger man. Jiraiya was a fairly tall man. I'm not gonna describe the Jiraiya fit, everyone knows the Jiraiya fit. Jiraiya looked down at his student and scowled. What have I told you about respecting your elders, Gaki? Naruto shrugged. You'll get my respect when I feel you've earned it. So far, all you've done is go to fun houses, and I haven't learned anything. Jiraiya cited his student's rather apathetic attitude. Ever since they had left Konoha, Naruto had changed. He had become a lot more quiet than the loudmouth the Sennin had met during the Chunin exams. In fact, he hadn't spoken more than a few words since they left Konoha. It was like the loudmouth had suddenly vacated the boy's head, and this new person took his place. Most of the time, Naruto stared at nothing and seemed to be in deep thought. Jiraiya wasn't sure what was bothering his apprentice, but figured that he would find out what was wrong with him in time. Alright, the Toad Sennin said. I swear it's Sanin. I don't know why it's spelled like that. If you know why, comment down below, cause I need updating on my Naruto lore. I have to meet a contact here who has some valuable information for me. After this is done, I'll begin training you. How does that sound? Naruto nodded. That's fine. Jiraiya frowned at his godson's lack of enthusiasm, but left it alone for now as he headed off. Naruto walked around the town, not really bothering to pay attention to where he was going at the moment. Truth was, he'd been doing a lot of thinking, mostly about himself and how he hadn't really taken his training seriously. When he was in the academy, he had been more concerned with playing pranks to get attention, which had seriously hampered his ability to learn. Of course, the problem was that by the time he had found a teacher willing to actually teach him, rather than try to sabotage his training, Naruto was so far ingrained in his pranking and loudmouth tendencies that it had simply become a habit. He shook his head and sighed. Despite that, it wasn't an excuse for not bothering to learn when he was able to. Had he actually applied himself to learn what he could, he may have been able to keep Sasuke from leaving the village. There was another of his problems. Sasuke Uchiha had been someone he had considered a brother, had always thought that even with the small rivalry they had, I butchered that word, rivalry they had going, that they were still friends and always would be. That feeling had been dashed when Sasuke plunged a Chidori into his chest, not once, but twice. Naruto was no longer sure if he could keep his promise to Sakura by returning the boy. Not that it would matter anyways. Naruto was beginning to doubt that Sasuke would ever willingly return. Even if Naruto forced him to come back, he doubted Team 7 would ever be the same. Naruto shook his head off the morbid thoughts. That wasn't the time to be dwelling on such things. Sasuke's defection had opened Naruto's eyes to the reality of his situation. He needed to get stronger. He had to train and try his hardest to become a real shinobi, not the loud brat who could not even bring back someone he considered a brother. As he was now, Naruto was lacking in every aspect of being a shinobi. Sure, he had the Rasengan and the Shadow Clone, but that was really it. In every battle he had fought so far, if it weren't for the Kyuubi, Naruto knew he would have had been forcefully toaster bathed. During the battle on the bridge in the Nami in the Land of Waves, he had used it to fight Haku. During his fight with Orochimaru in the Forest of Death, he had been forced to use it. His fight with Gaara, his fight with Sasuke. Every major battle he had ever been in, he had used it. Add on that he couldn't even use the Rasengan without the aid of a clone. He didn't have proper control of his chakra and no set of taijutsu style, or rather he just swung until he hit something. Naruto knew he had a lot of problems to fix. Looking up, he found himself standing in front of a store that appeared to sell shinobi clothing. Naruto looked at his own attire. His bright orange tracksuits had been with him for as long as he could remember. Not because he wanted to wear it. No, despite the fact that orange was his favorite color and was good for getting attention, the only reason he wore it was because it was the only thing he could afford. All the stores in Konoha had him blacklisted, making it nearly impossible to get a decent set of clothing. The only food he could even afford was ramen, which was why he ate it all the time. Even these clothes he had were costly. The man who sold them to him, making him pay 3 times the price most people would spend for normal clothes. Deciding that if he wanted to become a real shinobi, he should look like a real shinobi, Naruto walked into the store. The shop itself was fairly standard. There were many racks in the store with different styles of shinobi clothing in various colors. There was also a few areas that sold weapons, most of which were the standard kunai, shuriken, ninja wire, and basic sealing scroll. Unlike Konoha, this was not a ninja village, so they didn't have any specialty clothing or weapons. Naruto began to walk around the store to see what he might like. He looked at various forms of pants first. He wanted them to be in dark colors. Looking at a few of the different styles and colors, he decided to buy several sets of dark blue cargo style pants. They had several pockets that looked like they were designed to hold various scrolls and were of sturdy material that would not wear down. The next thing he went to wear were their shirts. Looking through them, he went with a dark blue and black colors, buying several sets of both sleeveless and long sleeve shirts so that he would have some variety before he moved on, looking to see if there was anything else he might want. Eventually bought several other things, a pair of black fingerless gloves with metal plates on the back, a pair of black combat boots with steel toe tips, and a sealing scroll so he could carry it all. Walking up to the cashier register, which had an old man sitting at it, Naruto set the clothes down. The old man looked at him and began to tally up the price. "That's quite a lot of stuff you bought, young man. The total will be 4,000 yen. Naruto reached out into his pants pocket and pulled out the frog wallet thing. Opening up, he looked at it to see how much he had. It was not well known, but Naruto was, despite not looking like it, a very stingy person when it came to money. Living on the streets and having to be careful where he bought stuff and how much he bought, Naruto had been taught the value of cash. Right now he had 6,500 yen. He could be using about 2/3 of his savings, but in Naruto's eyes it was worth it. Taking out the necessary amount, Naruto gave it to the old man. "Excuse me, but do you have a place I could change in?" Naruto asked, using a more respectful voice than he had ever before. "Yes, right over here." The old man pointed to a small changing stall that was somewhat hidden in the corner. "Thanks," Naruto replied, moving over the stall. "No problem, young man." Naruto went into the stall and changed, opting to go for the sleeveless shirt instead of a long sleeve one right now. He looked at himself over in the mirror, nodded in satisfaction, sealing the rest of his clothes inside of the scroll he bought. Walking out of the store, Naruto created a Kage Bunshin and told it to go find Jiraiya and tell him he was going to get some food. Walking around, Naruto eventually found a small stand that seemed to offer a variety of different foods. Naruto eventually settled on... Oh my god, what is that? Something with beef, okay, and began to eat. A few minutes later, Naruto blinked as the memories of his clones finding Jiraiya, tipsy and talking with people hit him. What was that? Naruto wondered as he tried to figure out what had just happened. He'd never had that happen when he made a clone before. Of course, normally when he made clones, he would spam them out as if they were going out of style. So maybe he just never noticed. As he ate, he absently wondered if this could be used for training or if he only retained the memories of the clones when they dispelled. He would ask Jiraiya when the man found him. A little while later, said man walked into the stand and sat down next to him. He ordered a small bowl of ramen and waited for it to come. When it did, he began eating for a bit before deciding to speak. We'll be staying the night. Tomorrow, we're gonna leave early and start training. Naruto nodded. Speaking of training, I noticed that I gained the memory of my clone when it dispelled. Ho ho ho, Jiraiya said with a small hint of surprise and pride. So you found out the secret of the shadow clone, eh? Naruto turned to face Jiraiya with an incredulous look. So you knew about this? Of course I knew, kid, Jiraiya snorted. I've been waiting to see when you would figure it out yourself. Naruto nodded again, deciding not to bother getting bent out of shape over not being told. Do you think I'd be able to use it for training? Jiraiya looked thoughtful for a moment. Could work. With your reserves, you could easily learn things in months. That many others would take years to get down. Though I imagine there would be some drawbacks to this method of training. Like what? Naruto asked. Jiraiya spent the next hour explaining the drawbacks of using shadow clones to train. 1 month later, Naruto grunted as he came up and did another set of push-ups. He had been going at him for about an hour now and was just about finished. It had been a month since he had learned the Kage Bunshin method. The shadow clone method. And Naruto's training had been progressing far faster than most people could ever hope. Every day, Naruto could create about 200 clones. Half of them would go through the taijutsu kata that Jiraiya was trying to teach him. The style was called Hamingu Tori no Ken. Hummingbird style. Oh, is that what Minato uses? Again, if you know, comment it down below. And relied on high-speed attacks that were designed to inflict significant damage on the weak spots of the body, such as joints. The other half would work on chakra control, which was easily Naruto's worst subject, with genjutsu being a close second. Naruto had been told by Jiraiya that because of his massive reserves, doing things like genjutsu and medical jutsu would be impossible. However, if he got his control up, Naruto should at the very least be able to dispel high-level genjutsu even if he could not cast them, so his clones would do a mixture of exercises. Most of them would run around on a body of water with several large rocks sticking to different areas of their body while balancing senbon or kunai on his fingers. He hoped that he could at least get Anbu level chakra control by the end of the training trip. While his clones were doing that, Naruto would work on the physical aspect, training his body to withstand high-speed combat. Every morning, Naruto would wake up and do this workout. Currently, he would do a 15-mile run, 400 push-ups, 400 sit-ups, 200 pull-ups, 1,000 squats, 500 kicks, and 500 punches. Each week, he would add 5 miles and 100 more of each exercise. He had gotten inspiration for the training. That's my Discord, don't worry if you thought it was yours. For the training regimen from his friend Rock Lee, boy who could only use taijutsu. While Naruto considered a ninjutsu specialist, he had strong hopes that he could also match Lee and Guy in taijutsu. Finishing his push-ups, Naruto started on his sit-ups. A little ways away, Jiraiya watched his apprentice work with a frown. While he was proud of the boy for pushing himself so hard, he was also worried. Naruto had been doing nothing but training for the entire month they had started. The boy would only stop to eat and sleep, though Jiraiya was positive the boy was only getting half as much sleep as he should. Jiraiya's original decision to take Naruto on this training trip was to focus on helping him use the Kyuubi's chakra, but what the boy had been adamant on was learning to fight without it. Jiraiya had decided to focus on actual shinobi training before going to that. While the blonde had improved a good deal, going from mid-genin to about high chunin level, he would eventually crash if he kept at it. That's a big jump in a month. I don't know about that. Naruto, Jiraiya called out. I want you to stop for a second and come here. Naruto looked up and nodded. Finishing his set, he stood up and made his way towards Jiraiya. What do you need, sensei? That was another thing that was different about their relationship. Whenever they were training, Naruto would always refer to him as sensei. Of course, once they were finished, it was right back to pervy sage, but at least it was progress. I want to know what's eating at you, Jiraiya said, narrowing his eyes as Naruto looked away. I don't know what you're talking about, sensei, Naruto said, though he still wouldn't make eye contact. Don't give me that crap, Jiraiya scowled. You've been quiet ever since we left Konoha. In fact, you haven't been your typical loudmouth self since you got out of the hospital. Now that I think about it, I've rarely ever heard you speak more than 2 words unless it was about training. I'll spill it, or I won't train you anymore. Naruto winced at the obvious threat. For a moment, he was silent. He sat down with a sigh. It's just... I realized just how badly I've handicapped myself all this time. When I was younger, no one would ever teach me anything. I had to learn to read and write on my own, because the lady who owned the orphanage said demons don't deserve to learn. And when I went to the academy, it was the same way. I thought that since the old man was letting me go there, I'd finally be able to learn, and show everyone what an awesome ninja I could be if given the chance. Naruto closed his eyes. That never happened. I was always sent out during important lessons or assignments. When they taught us taijutsu, I was taught incorrect stances. The list for things that they did go on. I eventually decided to stop paying attention. I played pranks so people would notice me, and by the time I found someone who was willing to teach me, it was too late. I didn't care anymore. Sure, I always said I would be Hokage, but I never really worked at it. I want to change that. Jiraiya sighed as he realized what the problem was. He should have known that Sarutobi would not have been able to protect the boy like he should have. Jiraiya should have been far more adamant, more... Oh my god, this grammar is making me struggle. More adamant, more about taking Naruto with him after the Kyuubi attack. Don't know what the second more is for, but it's there. He was sure that a life on the move would have been better than a life of hatred. I suppose I understand that, Jiraiya said, but you're still gonna burn out if you keep this up. I know, Naruto sighed, but I can't help it. I want to become better. I don't want to be considered the dope. The Toad Senin, I swear it's Sanin, looked at his godson for a long while before a smile broke out on his face. Alright then, go back to your training, and I'll make sure you become the best shinobi in Konoha, if not the entire elemental nations. Naruto grinned before running back to the spot where he began exercising again. As soon as Naruto and Jiraiya entered the town, the next town, the Toad said, Sanin, it's Sanin, I swear it's Sanin, immediately turned to Naruto. Listen, I'm gonna go find one of my contracts here, so I can look for some information. You can wander around, just stay out of trouble. Got it? He asked. Naruto rolled his eyes at the man. I'm not you, pervy sage. Jiraiya rolled his eyes at the new nickname. Apparently, oh, Arrow Sensei, pervy sensei. Apparently Naruto had decided that because Jiraiya had earned his respect, he would give him the title sensei. Of course, he later told the man that because he was still a pervert, he would not be removing the arrow. part in anytime soon. I'll be fine. I'll just go and see if this place has any ramen. Maybe do some training afterwards. Whatever, brat, stated Jiraiya as he ran off. Naruto, having been with the pervert for the last month, recognized that the man was heading towards the opposite of blue lights district. Information, these cheeks, Naruto mumbled as he began walking around town. He didn't really bother taking in the sights. Having seen one city in Fire Country, he noticed that they all kinda looked the same. That felt nice. Instead, he looked around at all the people. Even though he had been out of Konoha for over a month, actually having people smile at him rather than glare was a novel experience. He still wasn't really sure how to react, but he would consciously occasionally return someone's smile with a tentative one of his own. As he was wondering, he noticed something else that made him curious. He had passed several groups of girls his own age, and not one to be rude to anyone really. He had offered them a smile. This had the unexpected side effect of the girls doing two things. The first was for them to blush, and the second was to huddle in whatever group they were in and start giggling. He really wasn't sure how to react to this, having never had experience with girls aside from getting his face to cave in whenever Sakura hit him. Naruto just like you guys for real. He had not even touched a member of the opposite sex before. He do be really just like y'all. And so he was left confused as he made his way around town, looking for a stand that would sell him some good ramen. Hey, I'd be just like y'all too, man, don't worry. It's only thanks to your mom. After several minutes of searching, he finally found a stand that looked promising. He walked in and sat down at one of the stools. At the sound of his entrance, the chef turned around and spotted him. "What'll you have, kid?" Naruto frowned as he looked over the menu. I'll have 5 orders of your miso ramen, 4 orders of your chicken ramen, 2 orders of your beef ramen to start. I don't know why I did that. The man behind the counter just looked at him for a second, wondering if this kid had some kind of mental deficiency. He do be really like me. Are you sure you can eat that much, kid? He asked. Naruto looked at him with his newly created "Do you know who you're talking to?" look. Of course I'm sure. If I wasn't, I wouldn't have ordered it. The man just looked at him before shrugging. Well, if you say so. 1 hour and 23 bowls of ramen later, Naruto left the stand, leaving a very happy ramen chef and the feeling of his wallet several pounds lighter. He decided to continue his walk through the city before finding a nice quiet place to train. He wasn't too worried about getting lost. Jiraiya somehow always knew how to find him, even when the man was unsobered. As he continued, Naruto noticed he was getting more and more of those looks from the opposite population. He was not sure what they meant, but the looks had the odd effect of making him swell with pride, and at the same time want to run away screaming. Though he could have sworn he had seen those looks before. He shrugged the thoughts off as he looked at some of the stores, wanting to see if they may have anything interesting. He didn't go into any of the stores right now, since he could not see anything interesting. Instead, he satisfied himself with window shopping to see if there was something he might have wanted. As he was looking into one of the stores, he felt someone tap him on the shoulder. Turning around, he found himself staring at a girl around his age. She had long, light brown hair, green eyes, and a decent figure for someone who he recognized as a civilian. She was giving him the same smile with that light redness across the cheeks that he had noticed other girls give him as he had walked around the city. Naruto wasn't really sure what to say. He had next to no experience with women, so he was completely unsure what to do. Dang, relatable character here. He decided to be quieter than usual. After all, Sakura would hit him when he talked. "Can I help you?" he asked. He picked up several giggles coming from behind a girl. Turning his head slightly, he saw a group of them just a little ways away, looking at the two of them. He did not know why, but this instantly had his danger senses going haywire, telling him to run and never look back. He do be just like me. The girl continued to give him a small smile. "Actually, me and my friends were just wondering if you wanted to go shopping with us." Naruto blinked, opened his mouth, closed his mouth, and blinked again. No one had ever asked him to do something like this with them before. It went without saying that he was stumped on what to do. "What?" he asked in a voice that sounded like he had not heard what the girl had asked. The girl talking to him could not help but think he looked cool with his confused face. She started giggling again. "I asked if you wanted to go shopping with us." Naruto, for reasons he did not know, felt his cheeks become inflamed, and he was positive he looked like a tomato. This was confirmed when the girl and her friends in the distance started giggling again. Naruto thought the giggling was kind of cute, yet at the same time, he felt it was the single most terrifying thing in existence. He was tempted to just run and hope these girls could never find him again. Yet at the same time, he had never actually spent time with anyone his own age outside of the academy and missions. "Sure, I'd love to," Naruto said as he gave the girls his mega what smile. That was close. After all, it would be nice to hang out with people his own age. Just be with them instead of on a mission or training. That was the wrong thing to say. Naruto wasn't sure what had happened, but he soon found himself being dragged by the arm to nearly every store in the city. These girls did not do any shopping. However, they had decided to see what kind of clothes he liked to see them in. Apparently, they wanted a guy's opinion or something. He wasn't quite sure what they were talking about since they were speaking so quick. In any case, every store they went to, the girls would grab a bunch of clothes, change into them, and model for it, and ask him for his opinion. Naruto, having never done anything even remotely like this before, was completely unsure what to say to them. Instead, he found himself spending the time trying to speak, only for no words to actually come out. They began calling... never mind. Luckily, help arrived. As he was walking down the street, two of the girls, having somehow lashed onto each of his arms, Naruto noticed a large dust cloud being kicked up and coming his way. He and the girls stopped and watched as Jiraiya zoomed past them with a horde of bear women coming at him with bats, pitchforks, and many other devices used to maim and cripple, all the while yelling about perverts and getting what he deserved. As soon as they okay, let's think about this. Jiraiya has to be into some questionable activities, cause like he is a ninja. He could obviously get away with what he does, but he chooses to get caught. Jiraiya has some interesting choices. As soon as they passed, Naruto got out of the girl's grip and turned to them. Sorry for cutting this short, but it looks like I have to save my perverted sensei from his rightful execution. With nary another word? Naruto was gone. Is Nary a word? Nary. Anyways, leaving the girls to watch the second, smaller cloud of dust he made, Naruto found Jiraiya just as he assumed he would have, laying unconscious and twitching as the women walked away after beating him. Walking up the blonde toad, the spastically twitching toad Sennin. A second later, said Sennin jumped up and dusted himself off as if nothing had happened. I knew you weren't gonna be meeting any contacts, Arrow Sensei, Naruto said, as the man was up. Stupid pervert. Why can't you ever just act normal? Normal is overrated, nerd. Jiraiya exclaimed. And I scrolled way past where we were. Jiraiya proceeds to give him tips that YouTube would not be super duper happy about. So we're gonna skip that part. As the two went to the hotel Jiraiya had rented before deciding to do his research, Naruto was forced to listen to his sensei giving him tips. He tried to not listen to the man, knowing that all he was talking about was some perverted crap that he did not want to know. However, he somehow found himself listening anyway. Half of it he didn't even understood, having been sent out of class during the important education course. He did not actually know anything about the said education. Even his infamous Oraika no Jutsu was merely the byproduct of having seen the front cover of Icha when he caught who is OG-san, bro? Is that supposed to be Hiruzen? After he caught Hiruzen reading it several times. Jiraiya had finished talking about the time they reached their room, and Naruto, being Naruto, used his way with words to form a comprehensible and well thought out sentence after listening. What are you talking about, pervy sensei? What in the... Oh my god. Is that a cat? Cause I seriously hate cats. Naruto shivered as he remembered his horrendous times with Tora. Jiraiya looked at Naruto as if he had sprouted wings and had grown several tails. Are you telling me you've never heard those words? Shouldn't you know this stuff? Kami, I thought they would have taught it to you in the academy. Naruto blinked. I think they did mention something about it once. He frowned as he tried to remember if they had a class on that. And you didn't listen? Jiraiya asked, sounding for all the world frustrated. The kid had been getting a lot better at being a ninja. He acted smarter too. Jiraiya was sure the boy was not as dumb as he acted, or used to act to a certain extent, but about other things he seemed to be an idiot to this day. Naruto looked down at his feet. Well, I would've, but I didn't have Iruka as a teacher back then. They sent me out, telling me that because of my pranks the other day, I didn't get to do this. Jiraiya found himself frowning. He had learned a while ago that because many of the teachers had been biased against Naruto due to the fox, that they would often send him out during important lessons in class. It was part of the reason Naruto had next to no knowledge about being a shinobi. What about your Oroikai no Jutsu? Jiraiya asked. How'd you come up with that if you had no knowledge of stuff like that? Oh, that? Naruto said in a dismissive tone. I saw Hiruzen reading that perverted book of yours and saw the cover. I got the idea from there. But the girl on the front cover isn't... Bear. Naruto tilted his head to the side. Neither is mine. What do you think that smoke cover is for? Jiraiya found himself feeling stupid. As he heard that, he had assumed that the smoke covering had been used to tantalize the person. Naruto used it into wanting more. Apparently from what Naruto was saying, that was not the case, and the only reason the smoke was there was because Naruto didn't know what's supposed to be under there. Why are we talking about this? Alright Naruto, Jiraiya said, as he pulled out his first edition of Icha Volume 1. I'm gonna be teaching you all you need to know about women. As Bro was like Andrew Tate. As soon as Naruto saw the little orange book, he knew he had to escape. He shot towards the window, hoping to make a quick exit. However, Jiraiya was far faster than he was. Before the blonde even knew what was happening, he found himself being tied to a chair and trying to stare or listen to his sensei as he talked about Icha Paradise. His screams and pleas could be heard all throughout the night. The next day found Naruto at the library, looking up knowledge on bodies. He had been forced to listen to his sensei for more than half an hour that night. Now he felt like he had been scarred for life. However, the Toad Sanin talk had also made him curious. Jiraiya had told him a lot, but he also felt that the man had left out a lot. After all, he had only focused on the perverted parts. So here Naruto was along with several clones, reading books on human anatomy, their reproductive systems, and intimate relationships in general. He had even gotten a few romance novels. After all, there was no way he was gonna let his sensei corrupt him with his perverted ways. 6 months later, Naruto grunted as he was kicked in the face and sent flying backwards. Flipping himself in midair, Naruto landed on his feet and skidded across the water. In a burst of speed, Naruto shot off towards Jiraiya, one hand going to his kunai pouch and the other began a series of one-handed seals. He threw several shuriken at Jiraiya before thrusting out his palm. Wind release, wind gill palm. The shuriken, which had already been going forward at the high speed, soon became nothing more than a streak of silver as they headed for Jiraiya. The Toad Sanin, it's Sanin again, jumped out of the way, knowing how dangerous Naruto was when he used his wind element for anything. However, Naruto knew his sensei would dodge. After all, Jiraiya was not a Kage level shinobi for nothing, and had in fact counted on him dodging. Naruto put in a small but intense burst of highly concentrated chakra into his legs, literally disappearing and reappearing right in front of the man. The blonde shinobi aimed a punch at his sensei's solar plexus. Jiraiya swatted it to the side and downward in the hopes of knocking Naruto off balance. No such luck, as Naruto went down and pushed himself into a handstand, launching a axe kick that managed to hit Jiraiya in the face and make the man stumble backwards. Pushing himself into a flip, Naruto went for another axe kick to Jiraiya's collarbone. Jiraiya put up both arms to guard and immediately regretted it, as if he was forced to a knee. God dang Gaki and his stupid strength training. Jiraiya grabbed onto Naruto's legs with both hands and was about to flip the boy over. However, Naruto used his other leg to jump up and over Jiraiya, using the man's grip to keep himself balanced, and launched a kick to the white-haired man's face. Jiraiya was forced to let go of Naruto's leg as he tilted his head to the side and dodged a kick. He turned around and managed to kick Naruto in the chest and the blonde's way down. Said boy moving with the blow and going into a series of flips as he jumped away to gain some distance. Jiraiya took out a kunai and threw it at the blonde, going through a few hand seals as he shouted, "Ninja arts, kunai shadow clone jutsu." One kunai multiplied into 24 kunais as they all headed straight for Naruto. Said blonde just looked at them with a smirk, going through a few of his own hand seals before Naruto called out his jutsu. Water release, water encampment wall. What? A large wall of water formed around Naruto, blocking the kunai. Once Naruto heard the popping of kunai being dispelled, he went through several more hand seals. Water style? Why is it called water release in some places? Water style. Well, I'll just stick to water release. Water release. Water dragon jutsu. The wall of water soon began to swirl around Naruto, before taking the shape of a 60-foot water dragon with glowing yellow eyes. As soon as it did, Naruto created a shadow clone seamlessly. Just say without hand signs. And had it go through a few hand seals as the water dragon launched itself towards Jiraiya. Wind release. Wind bullet. The clone smashed a fist into his stomach and shot a large ball of compressed wind out of its mouth. It went straight for the water dragon. The water dragon power and speed were soon increased as the Renkudon merged with it. Oh, the wind bullet merged with it as it headed towards Jiraiya, said Sanin, swearing enough to make a sailor blush as he jumped out of the way. The water dragon mate slammed into the water with a loud crash. Water erupted everywhere, looking something akin to a large explosion. Using the distraction caused by his jutsu, Naruto threw several kunai and went through the hand signs Jiraiya had used earlier. Ninja art, kunai shadow clone jutsu. One kunai became 41 kunai as they headed for the still airborne Jiraiya. Noticing the kunai, the toad Sanin went through his own hand seals. Ninja art, underworld guardian spikes. Jiraiya's hair wrapped around his body and became hard as steel as it deflected the kunai. When all the kunai were gone, Jiraiya whipped out his still long, hard hair around and called out another jutsu. Ninja art, hair senbon. Several hardened needles of hair were launched at Naruto, who took out two kunai, spinning them by the rings. He went into his taijutsu stance with both kunai held in a cross guard. Naruto's hand soon became a blur of motion as he deflected the air senbon away. What he couldn't deflect was dodge as Naruto flipped and twirled in an amazing acrobatic display. Alright, my hand signs are done too. When the Senbon hailstorm died down, Naruto looked around, not seeing Jiraiya anywhere. He frowned before closing his eyes, trying to sense out the man's chakra. Having felt Jiraiya's chakra signature for 6 months now, Naruto could pick it up fairly easily. He finally found him, however, his eyes widened when he realized the man was right under him. His realization came too late as Jiraiya came out. Yay, good for Jiraiya. Of the water and smashed a fist right into Naruto's chin. Before Naruto could fly too far, he felt hair wrap around his body and harden, immobilizing him. Jiraiya grinned at his student who was currently hanging upside down. The boy had come quite far in just 6 months. His physical abilities and taijutsu were now extremely impressive, definitely high jonin level with all the work they had been doing to bring it up to snuff. His chakra control was also coming along nicely, being at around mid-jonin level, which was good, especially considering the fact that it grew at a near constant rate. However, it was Naruto's ninjutsu that took the biggest leap, particularly in the field of elemental manipulation. Jiraiya had decided that since the boy was doing so well, they would get started on learning elemental nature manipulation, something that Jiraiya had planned on having Kakashi teach the kid when they returned. Now, he was glad that he didn't go through with that plan, since Naruto appeared to have the 3 elements wind, water, and lightning down. It had been a shocking discovery, and Jiraiya had to wonder if it was some kind of bloodline, or if it just came from his parents. Minato had been had been a wind user, but had learned water during the 3rd Great Ninja War, and Kushina had an affinity for water, so he supposed it was possible, but it still didn't make much sense. He actually planned on having Naruto tested when they returned to Konoha in 3 years. If he did have a Kekkei Genkai of some kind, it could cause problems. Jiraiya shook his head. He would worry about that later. It's not a Kekkei Genkai, he just has 3 separate, releases. Nice job, kid, but you're still too early to beat me. Too early? Like too young? Naruto gave Jiraiya a pout. Okay, that's weird. Before it turned into a grin that instantly put the Sanin on guard. Oh really? Naruto asked, right as Jiraiya's eyes widened. Crap. Jiraiya jumped out of the way, just in time to dodge a large explosion as the new immediately identified shadow clone was holding Blue itself up as oh wait, no, I can't make that joke. People think I'm white. As Jiraiya landed, he felt cold steel against his neck. He couldn't help but chuckle. "You've been waiting to use that technique, haven't you?" Naruto grinned as he put up his kunai. "Well, yeah, you tend to immobilize me a lot with those hair techniques of yours, so I figured it'd be a good way to beat you." Jiraiya nodded as they had sparred quite often. By now, it was obvious that Naruto would know Jiraiya's tactics. That was something to be an issue since others would not fight like he did, nor would they pull their punches. He would need to have Naruto gain some experience. Maybe you could see if Tsunade would give them some missions to accomplish. "You're getting better," Jiraiya complimented as he thought about how to give Naruto some real-life experience. "Anyways, let's set up camp for the night. Tomorrow we'll head into a town a little ways off." "Alright, Jiraiya-sensei," Naruto said as he grabbed several scrolls from his kunai pouch. That's all for today, guys. I hope you've all enjoyed this video, and if you have, please like, comment Q or any other comments you may have. And I don't know where I'm posting the rest of this, but the link to the playlist will be either in the description or a pinned comment. So if you want to, watch the rest of the story, click that link. Stay